Supreme Courts often get it wrong a lot, and they have throughout our history. In other words, we have seen bad decision in every generation. Korematsu, Plessy versus Ferguson. We've seen them endorsing the worst of immigration policies. Fugitive Slave Act. I can go through every generation. Horrible decisions. This will be one. I want to know Ms. Slaughter is on the right side of history here and will be vindicated. Because I say this because something that people on both parties know. The federal government, from the Supreme Court to the legislative branch to the executive branch, have normalized a level of corruption staggering that we have never seen before. And this particular case points directly at the corruption because of the exception that they made that points to the exact people who are pulling the levers. They made an exception for the Fed. So in other words, your consumer protections, your health and safety protections, fair elections, all of those independent agencies, no, we're going to let those go. But the ones that protect people on Wall Street and their profits and the profits that most billionaires get, which is from their stock holdings, we're going to protect those. We want those cops on the beat. Everybody else, every other agency, they're distinguishing the Fed has exposed them for who they are.
One of the things I have done to make myself feel better over the past year when I've been frustrated about this process and potential outcome is literally Googling, or as my children would say, searching up bad Supreme Court decisions, like literally put that into the search bar to remind myself of exactly what Senator Booker said before, which is that there have been very, very many over our country's history. And the most important point today, and the reason we're still talking about this today, is that none of those bad decisions were the end of the public conversation about the topics that they covered. It doesn't stop mattering just because the Supreme Court decision came down. And I will not stop fighting for, I know Senator Booker will not stop fighting for, I know Amit will not stop fighting for a government that is accountable to the people and not just to the powerful, for the rule of law, for checks and balances, and for institutional accountability. And so those are things that are going to continue to matter because it matters to people. People sitting around there saying don't care what the FTC or the FEC or the FCC, they don't know what those letters mean, and it is not particularly important to them. But what they do care about is the price of their groceries. They do care about whether their kids are safe online. They do care about whether they can trust their drinking water. They do care about whether they have access to information that they want to reach. And those are the things that these institutions protect. And I shared Senator Booker's real frustration with the distinction that the court, and by the court, I mean 2 members of the Supreme Court who were in the majority in my case and in the Fed case, attempted to draw between the Fed and the FTC, because I do not think it holds up on any kind of historical or legal examination. And it does create this set of special rules for Wall Street and not for Main Street. And that is going to be a problem going forward. But we are going to keep working on that problem. The Supreme Court has said there is one way, this one mechanism of checks and balances, removal protections are not constitutional, but there are many other ways, especially Congress can effectuate some really important checks and balances. And that is a lot of what I am thinking about.